Hey, Texans fall yesterday to the Colts, which was an upset actually because the Texans were still favored in that game. We knew the offensive line was going to be bad. I honestly did not expect the defense to be as bad as it was. I've gone on at length about that on the radio show and on the reaction of the highlights. I'll have another reaction about that later on. But right now, I want to get to CJ's presser because I thought he continues to impress and show a lot of maturity in a very difficult season. I hope that he's able to keep up the positive attitude. So let's just kick it, and I think we can hear the questions pretty well, at least with John McClain. I have not heard most of this.
Yeah.
John McClain asked something about his performance. Let me know if the audio on CJ's side is too loud.
First and foremost, just want to give all glory and praise to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Yeah, had a hard week, man. Just trying to fight my tail off just to be able to play, because my shoulder was hurting me. But at the end of the day, I wanted to be out there for my guys. I wanted to play, and I had a little pain here and there. But I mean, at the end of the day, I just wanted to play because I had the opportunity from God, man. Just to be in a great city like Houston, I wanted to play in the home opener and try to flip this thing around the right way by playing well. So yeah, it was ups and downs, but I feel like my guys around me, like they made me more positive as the week went on, just telling me, man, just if it happens, it happens. If it's not, man, just do whatever you can do to play, to not play if you're not feeling well. So I decided to play, and I feel like I did okay, but of course I always want to do better. Gotta not take sacks in the red zone, and got to score in the red zone. I definitely think that was the main reason why we didn't put any points on the board. We were driving the ball pretty well. Just got to finish those drives, man. So felt like overall, I mean, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. I think there's hope. I think we showed that today that we're going to fight, and we're not just going to turn around and lay down just because the score flips early. We're going to keep fighting to the end. So.
Look, I think I'll work in reverse there. Him talking about having hope and fighting until the end. That could have ended up being a much closer game than I think a lot of the garbage time stats is a little overstated when you fall behind as early as you do in a game like that. Coaches in the NFL know and understand that teams can come back on that. And there were times where Steichen and the Colts blitzed and played aggressively in the second half. And those were actually some of the better plays where CJ Stroud connected with Nico Collins. So that was good to see. Yeah, there were softer coverages, but I also kind of lower the bar a little bit because it's a rookie quarterback, and a rookie being able to dissect some of the softer coverages when Bobby Slowick decided to stop running the ball at 2.0 yards per clip, then he showed some promise there. And he also showed that ability to connect when they did blitz. As far as the sacks in the red zone, yeah, he's gotten better about throwing the ball away. There were some instances in this game where he threw the ball away, and I don't think he would have in the previous game. So he took that step from week 1 to week 2. I really liked that. And then playing through the shoulder injury. The best thing about his performance yesterday was that I think the shoulder injury was an afterthought once the game got going. I honestly, I forgot about it. And it's kind of a big thing to forget about when your starting quarterback has an injured shoulder and he's playing behind 4 backup offensive linemen in one free agents or one trade acquisition that hasn't been all that awesome. The offensive line was in shambles. We know that. So that part of it, like his toughness, I think is beyond dispute. That's nice to see. It's what we expected, but it's just cool to see evidence of it.
When you think about your performance, especially the second half, did you feel like you were getting into a rhythm, and is that a reason for the encouragement, just kind of overcoming the sacks and everything behind the scoreboard and still finding tank?
So Aaron Wilson basically asked him about how did he feel about getting into a rhythm in the second half.
Yeah, I think something that I even like revisited, talking to like some friends from home, and really just thinking myself is like, man, no one said it was gonna be easy. You know what I mean? Like I think the hope that we brought the city from the draft and from off-season moves and everything, like it got the buzz going, and I think that was great, and I think it should continue because this team is we're a couple plays away, man, from winning a lot of games here, and I don't think that it should be easy. We got to go out there and fight and win, win one play at a time. I think on offense, we just too many negative plays. We had a lot of positive plays, but those 1 to 2 little negative plays in drive, those are drive killers, man. And I got to be more accurate. I got to do more to make the pocket right. But one thing I think we've shown, we're going to fight, even if it's not pretty. So I'm excited to just keep working. That's one thing about the NFL, man, I'm learning. It's week to week. You got to lick your wounds and just keep going because no one said it was going to be easy, and it's not supposed to. So.
Okay, so two things there. One is the adversity and the expectation that, hey, it's going to be difficult. I think he's gotten good advice from people and understands and knows the difference between college and the NFL. You can, those he played at a school where you feel miserable if you had 2 losses in a season the entire year long. Where in the NFL, hey, you can end up winning the Super Bowl while still losing 6 or 7 games during the regular season. So you got to change your expectations about all of that. And I think he's shown a lot of evidence of understanding that difficulty. As far as him talking about, I think that's the second time he's referenced his work in the pocket. He's shown very good poise, a lot of comfort, sometimes almost too much comfort with pressure around him. There were a couple instances in that game when he fled the pocket when he didn't quite need to yet. To me, it almost feels like he's already a veteran quarterback who's going to do that sometimes. It's more of a matter of just getting more reps at it and getting a sense of it. But there's zero panic about it. And that's really nice to see. And he's made several plays with pressure in his face. Sometimes it affects him, sometimes it doesn't. But I think he's further along in that regard than I really expected him to be. I think that some of the worries that people had about him having such a good offensive line at Ohio State and it not preparing him for the NFL was a little overstated, just in that, yes, he had great protection at Ohio State, but sometimes he was really willing to hang out until the pass rush got there because the guys he had downfield were so good that he trusted them to get open. I mean, that whole thing that people are painting as a negative, which is, wow, he had all these great wide receivers at Ohio State. How is he going to learn to throw to mere mortals in the NFL? I think it may have actually worked out to his benefit because he did trust those guys and would wait for them to get open even when they weren't. So we got to get the O-line fixed before it all gets beaten out of him. It's a real danger. Poise gets beaten out of guys in the NFL.
CJ, you said you were dealing with a little pain here and there with your shoulder. What happened?
I don't want to give any super specifics, but I mean, I just had a little shoulder pain that I was dealing with, and really just it was hard for me to throw, and I started feeling better. Friday, and Saturday we don't throw at all, so that helped. And then this morning came in really, really early and just try to fix it and just get anything I can do to play. I wanted to play, and I feel like I did as best as I could with my injury, and I tried to let it fly as much as I could and still have velocity and accuracy with the ball. But, yeah, man, I don't think it really hindered me that much. I think if I were to say that, would be an excuse. But for me, yeah, it was painful.
Cody Stutes pointed this out, and I'm glad he did. In 2021, CJ Stroud had a shoulder injury in his first game. He went on to have the sixth highest number of passes per game in college football. He was a Heisman finalist. So he's played through shoulder issues before. I don't know if this is the exact same thing, but if it was an AC separation or something similar to that, it's a whole lot of pain, but not necessarily something that's going to get more damaged. And it's just a matter of, like, I don't want to say it's a matter of toughness, because sometimes your body just overrides. Like, if there's extreme pain in your shoulders, you're trying to throw, you can be the toughest guy on earth, but it's going to weaken you or affect your nervous function or your nerve function a little bit. So this is, in my experience, it's something that it's totally safe to use a little cortisol, and who knows exactly how they managed it. I'll take one question here real quick just because I want to address it. Send Dameon Pierce out in the flat or up the middle in a pass play action RPO. It's not like they haven't tried that. I agree. They can keep expanding on that, and especially the screen game was god awful yesterday, whether it was Tank Dell, Dameon Pierce, or anybody else. They will use Dameon on some little whip routes and everything. Like, they have they have moved him downfield some. It just hasn't quite worked out yet.
Watching you were able to throw the game.
Right.
Do you expect that's something that's going to stick around and to fight through for much longer? How do you?
So I think Brooks Cabina is asking whether he expects this injury to stick around.
How do you expect that?
Yeah, I hope not. I definitely think I took strides from when it happened to today, and just, it felt better and better every day. So I think that's a good thing. I think it should be 100% by this week for sure.
CJ, starting training camp, you and Nico, we're trying to develop that chemistry to get on the same page. And it seemed as training camp went on, you all started to get that continuity more and more together. What was it about today that you all were on almost like the same page?
Yeah.
So he was just asking about him and Nico having this connection where Nico he's targeted 9 times, 7 receptions for 146 yards, averaged 20.9 yards per reception.
I really think it's just the work we've put in from the time we even really met, like when I got drafted. He was one of the first people to reach out, and I already knew what he could do. I watched a couple games last year, and he was kind of always open. And if he wasn't, he was going to make the tough catch. So I think with that type of receiver, man, just give him a shot, give him a chance, and he's going to make the play. And it's really fun working with a guy like that. He works really, really hard. He works on his body really, really hard. He's a big guy, and he's getting out of cuts really fast. And I know it's hard on his limbs and everything. So he's constantly in the training room. He's constantly asking me questions about the offense. He's constantly just trying to get better, and I appreciate a guy like that. So I think it's just like these were little glimpses of what is to come, and I think it's just more and more success from not only me and him, but really this whole offense. And I think that we'll just keep growing.
Okay. I didn't like hearing that Nico Collins is constantly in the training room. I know that CJ meant that as a positive, but with all those big limbs making those cuts like you do, yeah, it's extra stress on them. I think he'll be fine. As far as him always being open last year, yeah, I think that's one of those things you try to separate the CJ, the Davis Mills performance from the pass protection in front of him and some of the other issues. There were a lot of times where Mills was inaccurate throwing to Nico Collins. That's why a lot of people, like a lot of fantasy experts and whatnot, thought that Nico would blow up this year because CJ's such an accurate thrower. So despite all of those issues with the offensive line and whatnot, I mean, we're seeing that come to fruition. I also like that the Big Ten guys reached out to each other. Nico reached out to the other Big Ten guy.
CJ, from this.
I have no dog in that fight. I don't like any of those Big Ten schools.
Last week and this past week, did you notice a little bit more of an up-tempo in the offense coming out of huddle and getting by the last week?
Okay, he was asked whether he felt like it was more up-tempo. I've got a nuanced opinion on this afterwards. Let's see if CJ shares it.
Yeah, man. That was something we wanted to fix and wanted a better game plan with, was getting on the ball and putting the pressure on them. And I feel like we did that. We took a step. We got to keep taking steps, not only with that operation, but with other operations, and me getting the play out clean and getting guys lined up in the right spot. And I appreciate those guys working with me, man, because it's all a new offense for all of us. And we're just trying our best. And Bobby's done a great job of being upfront with the communication of what we're thinking we're going to do this week and getting the play and call into me early. And it's my job to make sure that I look at the play clock and make sure that we don't get any delay games or anything like that. So I feel like we took a step in that area.
Okay, this is the nuanced part of it. It wasn't good enough, but they definitely took a step forward. There were times in the second half, and I heard Chris Myers when I went back and watched the TV copy last night talk about how, they sure seemed casual getting up the line a few times. You got to remember that last week they were out of timeouts with 7 minutes left in the first half because they kept burning them. They burned timeouts trying to avoid delay games in the second half. It was a really lackadaisical, gummed up operation, and it also included the receivers not quite making the proper adjustments because they weren't up to the line in time. That's why the illegal shifts that happened. I thought that was a lot better yesterday. I don't think it's nearly a finished product, but they did show at times going. The one short yardage situation where they converted that first down. Remember, it didn't look like they were in hurry up, and then all of a sudden everybody congealed and they got the playoff, and Gumbawale got the first down. Like, that was good. I don't think they would have pulled that off in the first half, but definitely still a work in progress.
CJ,
I think this is something Will says all the time, man, but it's just chopping wood. And I know it's probably a simple term, but what we mean is just, man, just showing up every day. I think I said it earlier with you guys last week, was just my routine and finding that rhythm again. And that's really I think that's just ball. It's even good, bad, ugly, sad, man, throwing it away, learning from it, and then just keep chopping wood, just keep working, keep showing up. And I think we have the talent around not only myself, but on defense as well, to make plays and be successful in this league. And I think when you just show up every day with a mindset that, D'Amico talks about all the time, just a winning, deliberate, aggression every day. Even if it's tying your shoe or doing making your bed or just any little thing, those little champions, those little successes become big successes. And I think that's something that we got better at, was just practicing a little harder. And I think this week practice a little harder, and then you'll see it keep going and going. And even if you take a step back, showing up again the next day. And I think that's what makes a pro, is when you can do that religiously and to the best of your ability.
I'll tell you what, honestly, I learned a lot about habits over the last several years, just different books. Atomic Habits is a book I really, really like and highly recommend. In that, I don't know, I probably heard all of these lessons when I was younger, but I wasn't mature enough to absorb them. But one of the lessons that they have in Atomic Habits, which is we underestimate what we overestimate what we can accomplish in a day. We underestimate what we can accomplish in a lifetime. And it's all about just stacking up those small W's day after day after day after day. You compound all that interest. CJ mentions stuff like this a lot, and it comes from a lot of different places. But I think the important thing is that he's 21 years old, and he's absorbed a lot of the lessons that a lot of us don't really genuinely absorb until we're older. So that's encouraging. I like that. You need to be. I think with most football players, you have to temper your impatience. Everybody's really impatient to get things done really fast, and you got to try to control that to keep from getting so frustrated when it doesn't go well. He's so far he shows a lot of that balance. It's nice.
Thinking of what you just said right there, Nico Collins at the post-game presser a little bit ago said of you that you continue to fight no matter what odds are stacked against you, and that you have a winning mindset. Where does that come from?
Those people sitting right back there. My family.
Okay, he's pointing to his family. I jumped the gun. I mansplained the man as he was explaining his family.
I think where I come from. I think just the odds of being, and I don't have no pity for myself. I don't feel bad. I don't want anybody to feel bad for me. But the odds have been stacked against me since I've been a kid. And I think God has put a special plan in my life, and I think that he's not done with me yet. And I have a lot, not even just football, but a lot more life to live, to give to people. I think that's something that I want to keep doing and be better at, just giving my thought. That's why I sit here and explain things so detailed to y'all, because I think it means something. You know what I mean? And I think, of course, coming from a place like Ohio State, where Coach Day, he was hard on me, really hard on me, and I appreciated it. I didn't like it at first, but as it kept going and I kept fighting every day, and sometimes we fight against what he was saying. I learned the hard way, but at the end of the day, now I'm kind of seeing what he was implying. CJ, do this, do that. I would go the other way, and I would get myself in a turmoil, and then start listening to great people that you entrust. You know what I mean? And I trust my family. I trust my coaches, and I think people are depending on me. And I love that responsibility. He was just talking, man, pressure is a privilege. A lot of people don't get to live the life I do. It's hard. Don't get me wrong, it's hard, but it's a privilege, man. I'm blessed enough to wake up every day and to walk, to talk, to smell, to enact with people, to play football. These are all things we take for granted from day-to-day basis, but I try to do my best to thank God through all that, because His grace and His mercy and He laid His life on the cross for us, man. I really believe that, you know what I mean? So this is bigger than just ball. And if I have to use football for my purpose to spread the gospel and the life of Jesus Christ, and I'll do that. And I think that's what God wants. But at the same time, I want to win too. So I'm just keep. That's why. That's why I keep fighting, man. I'm gonna keep fighting my tail off, man. So.
Okay, all right. The part at the end, obviously, a lot of really good stuff before. The part at the end, I think a lot of football fans should like and appreciate because there have been a few instances like Nick Foles when he was in Jacksonville basically got up and told everybody that they had the wrong priorities in life if they cared more about winning football games and et cetera, et cetera. Look, unless you're like completely devoting your life to the ministry or going to pray and meditate in a cave for 40 years in darkness, you have to figure out a way to balance out life and religion and, make them complement each other and work with each other. So just, it's okay to care about winning football games, man, in my opinion. That's where the hell I'm going to end up in the afterlife. But also, I think honestly, some of the pre-draft stories about CJ being difficult or what have you, I wonder, and this happens a lot, I wonder how many of those stories are about like the very thing that CJ is referencing when he was a younger guy at Ohio State and Ryan Day. Maybe, I can remember it being a freshman in college and having the same experience where a coach had to explain to me, like, listen, man, like we're on the same page here. When I coach you hard, I'm trying to help you. And you just have to reframe and reinterpret everything. And I realized like I was kind of a sensitive little tool when I was in high school and then my freshman year in college. And I had my Coach DeStefano kind of explained the world to me in a way that I became a completely different dude. And I think CJ may have been like that. And obviously, like most of us here know his background and know that he had some extra special circumstances and maybe overcoming trust issues and things like that. So just it'll be a really good story and movie someday. Most hard to make a good football movie because too many good football players are like Peyton Manning, where you're like, oh, okay. He was awesome in junior high. Then he was awesome in college. Then he went to the NFL and he struggled for a little bit, but he was still pretty much awesome. And then he won a Super Bowl. Like, that's boring. You need somebody that goes through character change and transformation, damn it. The key is you got to win a Super Bowl, CJ.
Yeah, hey CJ, last week you talked about getting into a routine and you talked about needing the game to slow down. Can you talk about the things that you're seeing each week as you take these, as you chop this wood, that you're seeing that you're kind of starting to grasp and continue in the areas you're growing in?
Yes, ma'am. I definitely think something that I took from college was like kind of what I implied earlier was like it's gonna be hard early. And as you just keep going, you keep banking mental reps. Like, okay, I seen that coverage, I seen that blitz, or I seen this, I seen that. I'm gonna put that in the back of my mind for next time. And sometimes even you don't need it next time. You get it the first time and you kill them. And I definitely think that that's something that I'm trying to do is just every week take a step. And I think I've taken a huge step from last week, just from operation in the huddle to understanding clock management to all those little things. And then I think football's football, though. Like, those guys are really good. Like, the Colts defensive line was really good. Their linebackers flew around. The DBs were solid. Kenny Moore is an all-pro nickel and cornerback. And credit those guys, but I definitely think that we have what it takes to win games. And I definitely think if we put it together earlier, then we won't be in a tough situation towards the back end. So I definitely think that's what I'm doing with my routine, is just getting better.
That part there too, when he said football is football, it is interesting. You see sometimes people when they start learning NFL football, at first they're a little bit shocked that they feel like the coverages are simpler than they would have anticipated, and they think like, oh well, college is doing way more than that, and then they learn a little bit more. And it's that classic curve, where you think you know, and then as you get older, you realize like, oh, I don't know crap. The recognizing the base coverages and everything is simple. It's the little tweaks and the little wrinkles that DBs and defensive coordinators will throw in there when they're swapping responsibilities, when they're disguising. It's those little things that you just got to build up that mental bank. And it's amazing how smart the good quarterbacks are at doing that, and to have that recall the things that happened like 10 years ago. And just CJ having that attitude about it and understanding you just got to keep putting money in the bank. It's the right attitude to have. I mean, there are a lot of rookies out there that really just don't get it until like their third year, if they ever get it. I mean, some of them just keep winging it. I mean, like the Johnny Manziel's the extreme example where he just flat out refused to watch film, refused to admit that he needed to be a different guy. He had to kill Johnny Football. There's no Johnny Football to kill with CJ Stroud. He's just CJ.
CJ, you said last week that you noticed your offensive linemen really fight for you, and you really appreciated that. With that being said, it was kind of the same today. You got hit a lot. How do you keep the game slow? How do you keep your feet controlled throughout the hits throughout the game?
I think trust. Gotta trust those guys, man. I do, and I think I've showed it because I'm not just running around all the time. I'm only trying to extend plays when I have to, and I definitely think even sometimes I was trying to run around and the looks were there and I just missed the read and come back and do it the next time and get the read. You know what I mean? So it's just a consistent fight every play, and I'm up for the challenge, and those guys are too, and I appreciate those guys, man. It's like even Kendrick, like he comes in, and he's been here 2 weeks, and he's fighting his tail off. This is a whole new offense for him. Like same thing with George. Like Shaq was our only starter, and you know what I mean. Like JP didn't play all last year really, and was a really good center at college, but this isn't college, and he's playing against a really good defensive lines 2 weeks in a row, and he's fighting his tail off. Josh was at guard last week. He moves to left tackle. You know what I mean? Like that's a hard thing to do. It's the NFL. It's the best players in the world every week. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't like. I definitely appreciate those guys, man, because they're fighting. Like they're not just giving up. Because it's easy to put your head down in this league and just turn around and just do whatever. But those guys constantly are looking me in the eye like, man, I got you, and I appreciate that. So. And I love those boys. I'm going to keep fighting for them because they fight for me.
So let me answer a question here real quick because it's related to what he's talking about. How can we get him better protection until our legit O-line is back all healthy? I think that's – let me try to tie a few things together here without rambling incoherently forever and ever. There are a lot of people that felt like, hey, yesterday with the offensive line being in the shambles that it was once Laramie Tunsil was ruled out, there were a lot of people that felt like, hey, just don't play CJ. Don't subject him to this. Honestly, I think yesterday might have been one of the best things that could have happened to him because what did he do? You know, he threw for 384 yards, got sacked 6 times, didn't get injured any further that we know of, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. But he did it under extremely adverse situations where he had to be a leader with offensive linemen who clearly were overmatched in a lot of ways. You've got a bunch of backups. You've got young guys. Kendrick Green, the left guard, he had challenges in Pittsburgh making the team, and he is brand new to the team. Like CJ working with those guys and trying to make the best of a bad situation, that makes everything else. It's like he was wearing a weighted vest yesterday. And hopefully when Laramie Tunsil gets back and Titus Howard gets back and Juice Scruggs or Jared Patterson just get more experience, it's going to be a lot easier for him. And the way you see that he handled it here, like I'm really happy that he had that experience yesterday. I would love to. I need to start winning football games here. That's right. I have to start winning football games here. But like he's handling this as well as you could expect any rookie to handle this.
Last one. Well, CJ, you've already, of course, addressed the pain that you fought through today. Still, you threw for almost 400 yards. How much better can you get when you get 100% healthy now?
We'll see, man. I'm excited. You know what I mean? Like I'm not happy right now, of course, because we lost. But I definitely think that we've done a lot of good things on the offensive side of the ball, and the defensive side of the ball as well. But once we play together as a team, like, man, watch out, man. I definitely think this team is ready to win, and we just got to put it together, both offense, defense, special teams, and coming together as one. So I'm excited, man.
All right, John, last one.
CJ, how bad did you feel for Richardson going out with a concussion, considering what good friends you guys are?
Yeah, man. I talked to him before the game, and he seemed pretty healthy, and he asked me if I was, and we had a great conversation right there. We actually were playing a jersey swap, and I seen Garner out there. I was like, oh, man, I hope he's all right. So I sent a prayer. I got to talk to some of those guys on the Colts staff, and they said he'll be okay, just dealing with a concussion or something with his head. And, man, I'm hoping that he's all right, though. You can tell he's a hell of a player. And that's my brother, man. I got real love for him, and I hope that he comes back from this even stronger. And wishing the best for him and praying for him. All right, y'all. God bless.
Okay. You guys know I'm way more petty when it comes to liking the opponent. But those guys have. I blame Trent Dilfer and the Elite 11 show for getting all these guys together as high school kids and telling them that they need to support each other and everything. You need to despise each other, old school. Fight to the death. I feel like Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes might have a little bit of that going, which is nice. Some old school animosity, some Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird type action. But Anthony Richardson, I would worry about him if I were a Colts fan. He's been injured 3 times in 5 quarters of football and like didn't need to take that hit like he did. Oh boy, man. All right. I've got a reaction. I reacted to the highlights. There's another video up. I highly encourage you to watch that, but it's not a true breakdown. I just go down and I watch the NFL Films highlight on YouTube for like 12 minutes. But I got to break down the plays from the defense that really concerned me. I thought the offense fought as hard and as well as they could have given the circumstances. The defense does not have excuses for some of what they put on film yesterday. The secondary is in shambles because of the safeties and then Eric Murray going out too. But the front seven needs to be better than they were. So, well, we'll discuss that later. CJ, I was impressed with the press conference. I'm impressed with the fact that he addressed certain things and built on them into week 2, throwing the ball away, the connection with Nico, getting Tank Dell more involved, obviously, was awesome. I think credit Bobby Slowick for that as well. Bobby, I'm going to try to give a pass as much as possible. I do think that there's something about his play calling so far, as he's a new play caller, that is just a little too mechanical and methodical and not necessarily flowing with the flow of the game and responding to the flow of the game. I don't need to see you just, bullheadedly running the ball at the beginning of a 2-minute drill or when you're down by multiple touchdowns just to do it. But that's all. We've got more to talk about there. So I'm Seth Payne. I played for the Texans for 5 years, played in the NFL for 10 years. If you made it to the end of this video, I applaud you. You could have just watched the press conference. Maybe you didn't know that, but you could have gone to YouTube and watched the press conference. So subscribe, set on the notifications and everything, and check out the reaction videos I'll have coming later. Thank you.